Hi, I'm Alicia Robinson, Riverside reporter for the Press Enterprise and PE.com, and I have with me here in our studio Rusty Bailey, a mayoral candidate for the city of Riverside, and he's going to tell us a little bit about why he's running for mayor and what he would like to do if he's elected. Thanks for coming in, Rusty.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself for those people who might not know you and how you got interested in public service.
Sure. Well, it's a legacy issue for me. It's a calling that I've had since I was a young boy, and my grandpa actually came to Riverside in 1914. So the Baileys have almost been in Riverside for 100 years serving the city. Grandpa was in the school district. Dad was in the court system as a judge, and then I've been teaching in Riverside Unified School District for the last 11 years. I went away from Pauley High School to West Point and served in the military as a helicopter pilot, and then went back into service after my master's of public policy degree from UCLA in the federal government back in Washington, D.C. Got married, came home, and both my wife and I went back into public service here in Riverside. My wife is a teacher, and myself working in the County Economic Development Agency. And then I got a call from the principal at Pauley High School that said, why don't you come over here and teach government and coach soccer and try that out for size. And so that's what I've been doing until I was elected to City Council in 2007.
And so now you're about a year into your second term on the council. What have been maybe a few of the biggest accomplishments during your tenure?
Well, other than the Riverside Renaissance, which was a citywide effort to improve the infrastructure and amenities that we have here, I would say in particular for Ward 3 was the Marcy Branch Library. That was something that from the beginning of the campaign back in 2007 I had focused on, of providing that resource for Ward 3 residents. I grew up going to the Marcy Branch Library and had been taking my daughters, for the last 5 or 6 years before the revitalized, rejuvenated Marcy was created a couple of years ago. But that's probably my pride and joy when it comes to projects in Ward 3. And then the infrastructure for the transportation system. We've got a couple of grade separations, three grade separations going on in Ward 3 to move traffic better and to get the trains through without having as much noise and ruckus and congestion in the city.
Okay. And then I think pretty much everyone agrees right now that economic development and bringing businesses and jobs is kind of the biggest thing Riverside needs to focus on. But aside from economic development, what is the biggest challenge facing the city that you would be addressing as mayor?
Well, I think education and workforce development, those two go hand in hand in terms of a challenge that we have. We have an undereducated population, I would say. And so we're addressing that with completion counts, which is a partnership between the school districts and the community college district, and even beyond that into the higher education institutions we have in the city. And so looking at that issue, that challenge as a partnership, and not just the school district's responsibility, we want to increase educational attainment, because 1% increase in educational attainment translates to $185 million a year reinvestment into the city through increase in basically their ability, their wage increase, and so obviously that's an issue that can be addressed, that can have the small effect can have a big ripple effect when it comes to economic impact in the city, and it also draws attention to our city when it comes to having an educated population and workforce for businesses outside the city looking and saying, wow, they've got these 3 higher education institutions and the community college district that is focused and working together, and we want to locate our business there. And so that's, I think, the number one issue that as mayor I can bring a focal point to as an educator myself and as somebody who understands economic development beyond just bricks and mortar. I think that's an issue that I'm looking forward to continuing to serve the city as the chair of the Education Roundtable in building consensus and education policy and delivering for our city.
And now, as you know, Riverside is a big city. It's a diverse city. It's got the 26 distinct neighborhoods and a lot of different constituencies that live here. And as a councilman, you represent one ward. But as the mayor, you would be expected to represent really the whole city. What would you do to sort of be inclusive and bring everyone to the table and really be that face and that voice for everyone in the city?
Well, I would continue to walk the city as I have these last 9, almost 10 months, knocking on doors and listening to people, listening to their hopes and dreams, listening to their issues and problems that they have in their neighborhoods. We've been to almost 13,000 doors in this city, Team Bailey has. So it's not just about me, it's about the team that I bring to the table, and I would also bring to mind the statistic of the median age of our city being 30. And so we have, yes, economic diversity, we have religious diversity, ethnic, but we also have age diversity too. And our city is getting younger and younger, and we need to connect to that next generation of Riversiders. And so I would continue to do that by walking with the mayor in their neighborhoods as Mayor Leverage has started. I'm a bike rider and would like to start biking with the mayor. I also have a young family, a 6 and 10-year-old little girls, and they like to go to the park. So I think going to each of the parks and doing a mayor's night out in the park would facilitate that interaction that would inform the mayor of what are the issues and challenges and dreams of each of those neighborhoods and those areas, and to represent them at City Hall, because that's ultimately what the mayor should do, is represent the interests of the entire city at City Hall and try to bring their hopes and dreams and desires to reality.
Okay. And now you mentioned the Renaissance earlier. That obviously did a lot to improve the infrastructure, and there were also a lot of things that people could see and use directly, parks and libraries and things like that. And that was a pretty big idea. So if you're elected mayor, what one sort of big idea or new vision would you bring to the office?
You know, I've been studying up on transportation systems recently and looking at streetcars. We've had streetcars in the past in Riverside, and there is the potential of putting in a streetcar in Riverside, putting it back into operation to connect the dots between a number of different constituencies, some of them being the higher education institutions. So, for instance, if you were to go from UCR down University Avenue to downtown and Market Street, which turns into Magnolia, to go out to La Sierra, you would pick up, to Pierce Street in La Sierra, you would pick up Cal Baptist and the Galleria and the Plaza and the Brockton Arcade and RCC and the hospital and downtown all the way up to University Village and UCR. So those three streets, if we put a streetcar on, would definitely allow us to develop the specific plans that we have for University Avenue and Magnolia, and put in the infrastructure to prove to investors that that's those are the corridors where we see more intense development when it comes to mixed-use space or residential. And if you look at any other big city, that's what has happened as we continue to grow in population, over 300,000. You look at San Diego or you look at LA, most of the development occurs along those transportation corridors where they put in public transit. So I think that's the big idea for me. It not only connects the dots and makes it makes the students more able to get around to the various institutions in town, whether it's shopping or whether it's City Hall or whether it's one of the other institutions maybe they could take a class from, or whether our residents can jump on and go experience some of the things that are going on at the universities and colleges and the downtown environs.
And then before you know it, people are going to start getting their ballots in the mail. They're going to have two choices. What do you say to convince people they should pick you rather than your opponent?
You know, it's about a new energy and fresh ideas and things like this new streetcar concept and entrepreneurial academy I've been talking about, and getting the next generation involved. And as the population continues to grow in Riverside, they're looking for some different amenities and different things to do in Riverside. And I would say that first of all and foremost that I have Riverside pride, and I've had that my entire life. And I get up in the morning looking to make sure that everybody else has that same Riverside pride and is going to be a spokesperson for Riverside wherever they go. I think that that's an economic development generator in and of itself, that ability to bridge Riverside to other places and spaces beyond our city and tell that story and get people excited and to say, well, I need to come see this place. I need to come visit Riverside. I want to experience what you have going on there in terms of the Renaissance and beyond. And so that's what I would say to people, is that Rusty Bailey loves this city and is called for its long-term future. And his focus is on faith, family, and friends, and his heart's desires to leave a legacy of good government and economic growth for future generations of Riversiders.
Okay, Rusty. Well, thanks for stopping by. And make sure you visit PE.com for full coverage of the Riverside Mayor's Race. We'll have candidate profiles, videos, coverage of forums, and lots of other stuff. Thank you for watching, and I'm Alicia Robinson for the Press Enterprise and PE.com.